We have a quorum. We have Mark Jackson. We have Liz Golden. We have Eric Chandler. We have Lisa Wilson Grant. We have me, Dana Laird. There we go. So let's call to order. I did that in the wrong order. Anyway. Next up, did everyone read the minutes?
I never got the attachment.
Okay. I found a few typos, I guess. Page 2, under reports for cemeteries, it said Olmsted. I believe that is Almsted, A-L-M-S-T-E-A-D, probably a spell check thing. And on page 3, under the discussion, move to Lockwood House. It talks about repurposing the basement with an exterior entrance, and to remold the basement is probably remodel.
It is Olmsted, what you said with
Yeah.
A.
And the next sentence says, now the interior of the mansion is nearing completion, blah, blah. The outer years are simply estimates. I think it means the other years. That's all I found for the minutes. Anyone else read the minutes? Okay, Eric is fired. No, just kidding.
I don't see them myself, to be honest. I'm looking at the,
They're embedded on the email on the 17th. It's a new portal. Correct, Michelle, that they're using?
Correct. Yeah, it's all, it's in a new platform and you have to upload them all separately and it's like all in one link. But if everybody didn't have a chance to read it, we could just stick these minutes on the next meeting. And I can try and just make it more clear where everything is next time.
Okay. Yeah, I just didn't get the email and I got the minutes off of the city
Sure.
page.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's put that aside then. Anyone for public participation? It looks like it's just us and Telesco, correct? Yes. Okay, old business. Any old business? Guess not. New business. Election of chairman. Well, I guess that's me.
Yeah, if you're willing to serve,
Congratulations.
you're willing to serve another term, I
We
am
don't
more
have
than
a
happy to
nominating
nominate
committee.
Dana for continuing as chair.
I second that.
I guess we vote on this. Sadly. All in favor? Do I vote? I guess I do.
No, probably not.
Okay, that is unanimous. And then we'll assume that Eric is the vice squad.
I'm willing to do that again.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Next up is 2025 calendar. Do we all peek at that? Looks pretty straightforward to me.
Yep, I saw that.
Yep.
Okay. And C is proposed amendment to demolition delay.
Since this is the new platform and we have the folks on from Lockwood Matthews
Yeah.
and Diane, let's maybe move them up under discussion. I'll make it,
Right.
this is like an auto-generated agenda
Okay.
that the city
Yeah,
put together, so maybe
That's
next
gonna be
time,
rather.
yeah, we could shuffle it around so it works out better how it
Indeed.
usually flows. So we could stick them
Right.
on now and then we can deal with that item after.
Okay. Yeah.
idea.
So normally Diane is next with Norwalk Historical Society.
Yes.
But-
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to keep it short because I know you've got a lot to discuss for the next thing. So our last event was in December. We had an open house and tours, and it was very successful. We're very happy. We seem to be attracting a lot of new people coming up to Mill Hill, and we were very excited. And everybody's always in awe when they come up there and see all the buildings and the exhibits. And so we're going to be highly promoting all of that in this coming year. Along with talking about America 250. So Susie and I and Historic Rowayton with Wendell had a meeting, and I think we're going to be the steering committee to work on the America 250 for Norwalk. So we're all very excited. And Wendell's already started a list of possible events of things that we can do throughout Norwalk, whether it's our locations or, different places in Norwalk. So we're getting very excited about it. And I'm going to remind everybody again, it is next year. So it's 2026, July 4th. So I'm sure it's going to start, it's starting to bubble up. It's getting on people's radars that this is going to be happening. And the Historical Society is putting together their calendar for this year. We already have been told that we're building music through the community with Steve Saras's. Many of you know he's moving to New Hampshire.
Oh.
But he's still involved, and he's already told us he's got us for June 27th and in September to do that. So we're very excited that he wants to still stay involved with that because he's got to come back down here anyway. We're probably going to get involved with Make Music event that's going to be on June 21st, which is a Saturday. It's a worldwide event, so we're going to get involved with that. The Earth Day on the Green is happening again this year, and it's going to be in April 26th. So they had the kickoff meeting last week. We're going to be involved, and usually the Historical Society gets involved with that, with the walk on the water, and then coming up to Mill Hill, because we do have a herb garden. We have a 5-section Kelowna herb garden, so we're going to participate. But it's really become a community event. The city has been really involved, and it's been great. So it's been growing every year. But again, we're putting together a calendar, and Eric, thank you for recommending History at Play. So we're going to be in touch with them to get some events going, and sharing that also with Lockwood Matthews, because there are some programs that fit into the Victorian era. So I'm going to be taking a look at that and others. But that's what's going on. So we're gearing up for the coming year. Any questions?
I was just gonna say that I know with the DAR and maybe the SAR too has maybe some tie-ins with the America's 250.
They do, because I've been in
Yeah.
touch with Alice. So
Okay.
yes, you're gonna be
Okay.
involved, and there is an event coming up that we're doing with the DAR
Okay.
in the spring.
I
So
thought I had heard rumblings. I missed the last meeting, so I don't really know. I'm not
Yeah.
really.
Yep,
up on
yep,
it.
we are.
Just
Yes.
wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, we're tied.
Yeah.
And Lisa, your state convention is the first weekend in April.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so that's it for NHS. Always something going on over there. Next up is Lockwood Matthews Mansion Museum.
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. Thank you for all the support you've given us in these past 2 years of complicated construction, but we're at the tail end, hopefully, and we have an amazing calendar as we reopen. I have to say a big thank you to Diane and Stepping Stones for the past couple of years for helping us with spaces and collaborating with us. And this year we have another collaboration coming up because we're not open quite yet. So Stepping Stones is lending the multimedia gallery so we can have our first lecture, which is going to be with Kathy Olson. It's titled Gilded Age Properties, and it's basically a sneak peek of the holdings behind the scenes of the Lockwoods and the Matthews, and it should be very interesting. We may be able to put another lecture before that one in April if we can manage, and but we can't announce it quite yet. We also have we're working on 3 very exciting exhibitions. The first one is Bulls of Wall Street on finance of the Victorian era. We had the curator just a couple of days ago came to the mansion to look at spaces and further define his exhibition design. We are also talking about a collaboration with Silvermine and one with the Westport Collective for 2 contemporary art exhibitions. And that is also very exciting. Shannon O'Toole, Jandurko was at the chamber, got all of us together, nonprofit in Norwalk. It was a great opportunity, thanks to her, to talk to a new audience of people who were interested not just in leadership, but also in nonprofit and learning more about the world of nonprofit. We have 2 concerts that are, they still have to be confirmed, but we are in talks with some very exciting performers from Broadway and the national, international stage. Probably we will be able to say something at the next meeting. And of course, our usual events that are community driven, like the Old Fashioned Flea Market and the wonderful holiday exhibit. We'll be working on that as well. Any questions?
No.
Thanks so
Thank-
much.
Okay, is it my turn?
Sure.
Okay. So in addition to that, we're working on our now $18,050,000 project that we have invested in the mansion. We still do not have a firm date that they'll be finished and moved out, but we're in the middle of working with them to start to move back in while they're still under construction. We're looking at some kind of a spring date, but it's not finalized at this point. We have we moved back some of our chandeliers and they're being hung. We moved back all of the big paintings that were in the rotunda, and they're hung. And 1 is not, 3 are hung and 1 is not because of some construction that's happening underneath it. And then last week, our statue of the Lockwood children was returned after we had it cleaned. And so that feels real good to see things coming back into the building. The upper floors are pretty much done. The basement is very exciting. I guess I'm a basement and attic person. The archives are pretty much done. We're just waiting for paint to dry and some shelvings to be installed, and then the glass doors on the front. But that is going to be a huge addition to what we can offer our community and everybody that's interested in the Victorian era. And it's perfectly well timed for the 2026 celebration of our country. So some of the other details, we talked last month about the issue with the truss, and we had to ask the city. This was an unexpected issue that came up when we were trying to hang something in the attic, as I mentioned, I think last month. And there are 4 trusses that were at issue. 2 of them are opened up and need to be replaced. And so that work is going on right now. And the city gave us $300,000 in late December in order to take care of that issue. The second set of trusses have been looked at. There's just at this point, it looks like minor construction there on those 2, but it was a big surprise at the last minute, and that has pushed our closing or our opening out for at least 2 months, if not longer than that. On the site, if you've been in the park, the mechanical pad with the equipment is there installed to the left of the driveway. And we had to redesign the fencing that's going around and increase the height of it. So it's being manufactured for us, and it probably won't be going up until the spring in order to, if the ground is frozen, weather permitting is when we'll be able to get it up. It will be painted. It'll be 6 to 7 feet tall. And then there'll be major planting all around it to try to diminish the effect that it has. And so the site work won't be dealt to the spring because obviously they didn't meet the timing of ability to plant. We couldn't really plant wisely until the fence went in. That's pretty much the broad strokes. I think the things that when you get a chance to come and see are going to be very exciting is the front door, which is not paid for in this project. It's privately being paid for by one of our trustees and a state grant. And that is $150,000 project to do the front door, but it's going to be amazing. We have returned the color of the rotunda back to its original beige color. So the rotunda is going to be brighter and cleaner. We have professional cleaners in the building right now, and they are cleaning every piece of woodwork. And the difference in the woodwork is, I'm just so excited about it because it just glows and shines. It's absolutely beautiful. It probably hasn't been cleaned, I would say probably in 40 years. So it has a big impact. So those are the highlights. If anybody has any specific questions, I'll try to answer them for you. No questions?
Nope.
Nope.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Welcome.
You'll be excited when you get inside. No, I was walking with Pat the other day and a couple other people, and we're seeing because the building's number one empty, you don't have the other visual distractions around, and the details that you're picking up now are just amazing. I mean, I'm seeing things on a piece of woodwork I never saw before, or the way that they didn't finish staining one piece in the salon. So it's interesting when you get up to the second and third floors, everything cleared out, and you start looking at the fireplaces, how each individual one looks. It is amazing. So we can't wait to have you in there, do walkthrough. Our elevator's still not operational yet. There are some issues with that. So we've been a little leery of bringing anybody in pre getting the elevator operational. Plus, we need a bathroom too, because nobody likes to use that house.
But, to
Thank you
jump
for all your
on
cooperation on this whole project. It's been amazing. The city has been it's been amazing. So has the state, and I know that all comes through your hands. So thank you.
But I just want to jump on what Doug said. There's a whole new lighting detail small lighting system through a lot of the rooms, which the little lights just, they're behind coves and they just point up to the ceiling, all the ceilings. So you're again seeing the detail of the ceilings, especially on the first floor. And that makes a huge difference.
Great. Okay, so any other questions for Lockwood Matthews Mansion Museum? Guess you're free to go now, guys.
Okay, I'm gonna go watch the girls' basketball game.
Oh, forgot about that.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
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 Bye-bye, thank you.
Oh, now I can see you.
Okay. So now we're back to demolition delay amendments. Everyone have a chance to read through that?
Yes. And I had raised a question about whether notice should be given by publication in the newspaper, as is the case with other things that go on, bankruptcy sales, liquor license applications, any number of things require notice by posting and publication. So I was wondering if anybody had a chance to take a look at that.
I guess I missed that. So we're what page is that on?
Where it has, where they talk about posting
Oh,
on the property within.
oh. Yeah, I don't mind a little redundancy by having it posted in the newspaper.
Would it be helpful if I shared screen of the document?
Yeah,
Yes.
that would be good. That would be good.
Looking.
I mean, that may be a question for the law department.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's probably within number 10 when they start to go into signage on the property.
Yes.
And I think that's, something I can bring up with Brian Candela in the law office. I've been working with him on the edit. So ultimately these edits kind of came together based on the last couple delays that were in kind of procedure and who does what when. I think there's a little bit of frustration on the objectors and on what their responsibility was and whose responsibility, and it just kind of sat. So just to give a brief intro to all of it, the edits really came from the model ordinance from Preservation Connecticut, and taking a lot of their criteria and implemented it into our existing demolition delay. But to Eric's point, that's an item, I can definitely talk with Brian about. And I know like state level with newspaper notifications, they're trying to pass legislation to kind of peel that back, since new people looking into the newspaper to get what's going on in the town is pretty slim. So possibly in the future there'd be online notification as well as newspaper, but taking note of what you said there.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Dana, if it's helpful, I can walk the commission here through some of the edits, kind of on a general standpoint, and then if there's questions, we can get into detail about certain things.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Sure. So the first few edits, we're just strengthening the definition and the purpose, and then adding a slew of definitions. Being from the zoning office, we're definitely pro definitions and defining everything and knowing what's what. So, not leaving things up to ambiguity. So we clearly defined all these certain items like the applicant, what is a building, what the delay is. Which was kind of some of this was shocking that it wasn't in there already, but
Hmm.
and then I think the key and major one that will be helpful to this commission is adding a definition of like what a significant building is. So we say when you can trigger the delay is 50 years old, and which has been determined by the historical commission, one of the following criterias. So you guys can use this to say this building is 50 years old, but does it also have any of these features that you can have kind of more tangible thing to say to somebody when they are proposing to demolish something. So that's here now. Primarily, a lot of the edits are strengthening the ordinance and just reorganizing, putting things where they should, like in order wise. Like we have the content, the application content's gonna come before the procedure. So what the contents of the application needs to be, and then later on it gets into the procedure, what they actually have to do beyond just the content. That's
Can
pretty
you
much.
move it back up? You had like the National Register. It says, all right, yeah. It says state or national register, and then the building is doing by state. Well, I guess we say state or national register twice, but it's not like the national, then the state. National register boundaries. Okay, I went by
Speak up,
fast.
Lisa, please.
Hmm?
Lisa, can you speak up, please?
No, I just needed to read it because I thought that the first one was about national register and then the next one was about state. But it seems like it's saying that state or national in both cases.
Yeah, I think and this is copy and pasted from Preservation Connecticut, and I think as I'm still learning, so there's like places that are on a list and registered, but there's also like places that are like identified from the SHPO office. So there could be different like layers of.
Okay, so this covers both of those situations.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
even if it may not be listed as registered, but it could be flagged as like almost like SHPO's interested in this property and potentially there hasn't been research done, but the state office has interest in it. That's what I gathered.
And so sometimes we've locally identified plaqued buildings as well too.
Yeah, because I guess I think what you're getting at is Norwalk Historical Society and Rowayton Historical Society have plaqued buildings
Mm-hmm.
and houses, but they're not necessarily on these other lists. So
Yeah, I think that's a global issue throughout Norwalk,
yeah,
where we have plaque buildings that are not on the registers.
right.
Right.
So maybe that could potentially fall within maybe the bottom two when there's like documented evidence, like having a plaque and potentially somebody has information on how that got plaqued and everything. So that could be supporting
Yeah.
meeting one
That
of
would
these
be good.
criteria.
Yeah.
That would be appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the plaque program goes back only about 25 years and Lynn Friedman started it, so it's very well done.
Right. I mean, it just should to be made aware of its existence. I know the plaque
Right.
program always always make certain that people realize that it doesn't prohibit them from doing anything with their property if it's has a plaque. But it provides pause for the history to be known, who owned it originally and the year and you know, other information that's probably available in more detail at the Norwalk and Rowayton Historical Societies about the house.
Right. And I guess we'll eventually get to the part about that I call it Henry and the Norwalk Historic Resources Inventory, which is we've talked about updating but haven't done, and whether that's our job yet. But I guess let's go page by page because that isn't in this first few pages. So we're up to page, well, still on 1 and 2.
Keep going a little bit. This isn't any different, 55.4 -4. It just kind of restructured. I think this definition was somewhere else, whereas this bottom part that's crossed off got implemented below. So it's nothing major change. Again, these 9, 10, and 11 are same criteria, just relocated within the document. So it's again nothing newly added, I believe. And then to Eric's point previously, seeing what other notifications, if we can, with the law office and with the building department, and see what they're capable of enforcing.
You know, the problem was with one of the oldest houses that got ruined. They had put in an application to do work on the second floor, like remodeling, and then they ended up taking advantage of the ability to get in there and end up like using a big excavator and crunching the whole second floor.
Yeah, Lisa, can you speak up, please, or get a little
Yeah,
closer to the mic?
I'm just wondering if there should be more eyes from the building department once a historic structure has any kind of work done on it, so that that kind of situation won't happen again.
Yeah.
Because that was really, you know, I don't know why, you know, that they were able to kind of go to the races with their renovation of the second floor and, you know, quickly go about it without, you know, anybody noticing. So I don't know, you know, what more could have been put in place there to have extra set of eyes on something that's historic.
Right.
Yeah, I know Bill and I have conversations that pop up in the offices when somebody comes in, and I know people come to my office asking if something's historic. So, but I get to your point about having a procedure. Obviously, there's things that fall through the cracks, unfortunately, and maybe that one was one that had. But I know just the other day Bill had caught one. I know he definitely looks at like the 50 years old caveat in a lot of this. So once it kind of a flag goes off in his head, if it's like just 50 years older, but not necessarily things that are on a list or anything like that. But I could have a conversation with Bill and see if there's any improvements on the applications or the process that could catch more of these renovations. Because I know
that was not necessarily a demolition permit, but it was a renovation that, but some of those same categories of how identifying important buildings, when somebody wants to make a renovation, should probably also be something, you know, maybe Bill might know off the top of his head, stuff like that, but you know, 25, 30 years from now, when he's no longer in office, like what's going to catch a renovation when it's a historic building.
Lisa, are you talking about something other than what happened over by Eversley?
No,
Well,
I'm talking about that, but that wasn't, you know, anything, they didn't put in for a demolition, that put in for a renovation.
Yeah,
But I'm just saying that some of these descriptions of what describes a historic significant building, and maybe this isn't the section where what I'm talking about even goes into. But maybe it gets expanded into renovations of buildings verbiage, should include some of these descriptions of what makes something significant or historic. And
does anybody from the building department actually go stick their nose in there when work commences?
There are levels of inspections more since once you get your building permit and all the trade permits, building department is on site during construction way more often than zoning ever is, since we're just kind of at the end, at the complete project. So they are out there, and I think also I find neighbors are definitely keen eyes a lot of the times of when things go up or down and notify
right, but all of this shouldn't be like happenstance, like with the neighbors happening to notice. I mean, in that case of
Sure.
that one by Eversley, Bill Ireland's son lived next door. And
Right.
it got that bad before he, I guess, noticed there's a big excavator crunching the second floor.
it seems like they may have taken advantage of, because there's no punishment, of doing what they really intended the whole time. I mean, did they have plans in the building department for what they were intending to do?
Well, I think
Right.
it was, I'm just saying, I think it was premeditated because they went and planted all those green giant arborvitaes all around the
Right.
perimeter.
But if we had more of a, instead of circumstantial, I think we
Yeah.
all feel that, but yeah, what their plans were that were submitted versus how they went about it with the excavator ripping
They
the,
may have created
uh,
two sets of plans, one that City Hall was gonna see, and then the ones they were gonna work from. It's kind of like
Yeah.
cooking the books.
so, and yeah, hopefully the fines will discourage some people, or some people have plenty of money to not be bothered by any sort of fine.
But
Wouldn't
no,
it be
no
interesting
amount
if
of
we
money
could-
can
if we could
replace
make them
that.
restore it to its previous condition?
Yeah, with the hand hewn nails. I mean, the thing is, like, once that's destroyed, you can't go back and do
No.
that. And that's why I think there should be tighter, eyes on stuff that's historic or old or has significance. Anyway,
Yeah, all good points. I'll talk with Bill and Steve Kleppen in my office and see if there's anything just, low hanging fruit on permitting that we can add a line of, historical review. Can pass through my desk and I can flag to see the lists and everything and what the scope of the projects are and how it could potentially impact historical resources.
yeah, that sounds right.
Michelle, does your office have a list of the plaqued buildings? Or does building department have a list of the plaqued buildings as well as whatever may be on the registers?
I don't, I inherited some historical stuff, but I don't believe I have any list of the plaqued stuff, but that would be interesting and helpful to have for sure.
Yeah,
Maybe
that would definitely, because like in this case, there was a plaque, but it was missing, they didn't see it, they didn't have it, there's a picture of it from 20 years ago with the plaque on the building, but
right.
you can't always rely on the plaque is going to be attached to the building as a, identification of that being that building, if it gets removed.
Dana, who did you said Lynn might have done a project with the plaque?
Lynn Friedman, who now lives in somewhere in the middle of the state, was the person. She's still
Okay.
involved with state history.
But But it's
she's the
Nor-
one that
it's
started the plaque
Norwalk
project.
Historical Society.
Right,
Well, she
okay.
started it, but that it lives with the Norwalk
Right.
Historical Society and the Rowayton Historical Society
Yep.
are the ones that collect the money and do the research and provide
Right.
the plaques.
Gotcha. Okay, that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
I'll keep going if there's not any questions. This is going into the procedures again.
Yeah, I noticed comments on the side. They felt it was problematic that the historical commission can object to a demolition and then be the entity that determines whether the building is historic. I guess it's kind of who else will do it. But I guess there could be some legal issue there.
Yeah, Brian said he was gonna look further into it and see what other
Right.
towns do, because I know in some towns they have a historical commission and then a historic district commission, and some of them have different like purviews. So the historic district commission might be about looking at historical houses and, you know, making that determination, where the Norwalk Historical Commission is governing the historic city-owned properties for the most part. So we'll have to see what Brian says, because
Right.
I know, yeah. Dana, you keep an eye on it and put objections in when needed, and so does Todd, so we have to kind of, but then again, kind of this popped up, from Miss CC. She had some issues with a couple that popped up, so reorganizing all of this kind of stemmed from that, so there are people outside of it. So, yeah, we can see what we can do there. The demolition delay timeline didn't change, it's still the 120 days. I think that was much debate the last time this ordinance got changed. I think more days would be great, but I think if we want to make changes to make it more organized, maybe not making waves. But that's always up to you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, he also points out updating the historic resource inventory. I think we've been talking about that for a few years. How we can do that with our skeleton crew here. I know I have actually half of it someone had, they were getting rid of it. From the 76, I think it was done. But a lot of, I guess I also concerned with neighborhood, feels for neighborhoods, because we just kind of put up these, to me, houses that are sort of cut and dry, or that's not the proper term, but devoid of feeling.
Boxes, little boxes all made out of ticky-tacky?
Yes, that's it. I can almost hear that as a song. And again, you know, we are on North Avenue, I guess we're putting in some affordable housing, which we do need. It's just as long as, I guess the architectural review is not our purview, so we don't have that.
No.
Really, do we? In this town.
I think that kind of stems to a goal of kind of updating the inventory, and then hopefully in doing that process, perhaps there could be an assigned district. You know, I know they did it with the green, but if there's other pockets in Norwalk that need a district,
Right.
and then putting a commission together, something the state office definitely would help us potentially maybe get a consultant to help us do all that work, or, you know, getting some sort of funding opportunity that way.
Right.
But it all kind of overlaps.
I was a little confused by some wording on page 4. It says 55. well, anyway, it's 6B, actually. From the date of the application is deemed filed, the not issue the demolition, is that, I don't understand, is that a poor wording, or is that an official term?
Deemed filed, is this what I'm, this one doesn't have.
It's, page, well, it's a page 4, actually. So page 4, if it's all printed out, it becomes page 4, which is,
What statute, what section are you looking at?
actually application procedures, and 6B is where I'm seeing that. So that would be page
Because I'm
4.
stuck at 1 and 2.
Yeah, must be B. I mean, it must be 2 corresponding with B, if maybe the numbering is messed up.
So when I printed it out, and I have on page 4, so just scroll, if you
Okay.
could scroll up a bit, maybe, or down, yeah.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. So this is
So
the
it's
fourth
towards the
page.
bottom.
Okay.
Now I'm looking at 5, there's 6. We're getting there.
So yeah, so B.
Okay, 6B,
6B.
okay.
Yeah.
Scroll up just a little bit more, please. Other way. I guess scroll down is what I meant. Directionally challenged.
So,
And now we're
Well, then
past.
we're gonna lose it on the screen.
oh,
Yeah. All right, we're good. Don't touch the
Okay.
thing.
so chief building official of its decision, and a demolition permit shall not issue before, shall not be issued, or
That's probably a typo, yeah.
yeah, and then
Before the expiration of.
from the date is the not issue the demolition. That's
Oh,
all the
yeah,
next
yeah,
sentence.
I just caught this today. I'm not sure. Oh, I think it's gonna say, well, it's supposed to say, shall not be issued before the 120 days unless, the recommendations of alternatives to demolition are like agreed to, something to that extent. So,
Yeah, I just got caught up with like whether it was some sort of legalese term that I was not aware of, or
yeah, that's a typo.
the
Oh.
gremlins have taken over. Okay.
That shall be reorganized or re-edited.
I guess whatever, I don't see it here. My other concern was, does the clock start ticking for 120 days as soon as they, and of course this is just a, Bill always reminds me, it's just an intent to demolish. Does the clock start ticking the minute they do it, or the minute an objection is filed to the demolition?
Yeah, Preservation Connecticut uses the language of 120 days starts once the application is deemed filed.
Okay.
Because I guess, yeah, I'm not sure the real plus. I mean, obviously the plus, if you use the date of objected, it gives us more days, but I think what makes it a little easier to enforce with once the application is deemed filed, because it goes through kind of a more formal process and paperwork that's submitted with the building department that's official, where as an objection, I know Bill requires it in writing, but I guess, yeah, I'll highlight it and see if we could do
Right.
potentially a different time, but I'll see what law department and building department have.
And does an email count as writing, as written?
I believe so.
Okay,
I think Bill does accept email.
so that's what we've been doing. So. I guess the other thing that isn't really covered here is, renovations where there's sistering involved, where you just leave 3 boards, you basically build a new house, but you've got 3 boards from the old building. So that's not really considered demolition. So again, that's just, how do we can't really issue a demolition delay because it's not, that would be partial demolition, I guess.
Yeah, we have it defined demolition, demolish, or demolished any wrecking activity directed to disassembling, dismantling, dismembering, or raising the exterior of any building or structure, part thereof. The term should not be construed to prevent the ordinary maintenance of repair. So I would say that demolition is not a complete demolish. It could be any of the above to an extent. And I know recently one popped up and it was an older house and they were raising the roof and Bill made them go through the demolition delay process because of their almost partial demolition.
Right.
So it should be capturing
Right.
partials, if that answers the question.
I know there's one on Bluff Avenue and one that's coming up on Ensign. There was a hearing, which I didn't attend, but it's renovation, but it's basically rebuilding the house. So that's, again, when people have more money than God, because God doesn't need money, but I guess that's not something we're able to control or effectively.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say when somebody's internally doing interior renovations on a historic building would be
Not even the interior. I know these are basically were complete rebuilds.
then
Well,
I
the
think,
one on Bluff was completely rebuilt, but
think
the one on
based
Ensign is, again, it's just a nice architectural style, but it probably doesn't meet their needs or desires. So
right.
we come to the state where the land is worth more than, even if it was the Parthenon, they'd be able to tear it down. And okay, that's a pretty poor suggestion, but something like that. I guess I'm concerned about keeping the neighborhoods true to the Norwalk spirit.
And that probably, especially in the more historic neighborhoods, perhaps, if there was more of historic districts throughout Norwalk, that historic district ordinance and architectural review would be captured in that way instead of not relying on, because I feel like the demolition delay ordinance is just so limiting.
Yeah.
Do different areas have different guidelines? Like Silvermine is a historic district, correct? I mean, are their guidelines different to some extent?
I would think they could be.
Okay, I mean, I'm just curious because they seem to have a very, I don't know, active community and
Yeah, there isn't one recognized by Norwalk or locally governed, so there's no
okay,
legislation that or local ordinance that protects them. I think it's probably more, I mean, yeah, maybe community or developer driven where people kind of understand and have the feel. I know there's like
right,
certain
okay,
developers that kind of hone in on certain areas.
right. Like Brian Glazer is in that area with the, who took over Silvermine Tavern, correct?
Right.
Yeah,
And like Brad Craighead tends to develop around the green and things like that.
got it, okay, thank you.
At one point, we had
Andy
discussed
Glazer, not that it matters.
years ago, we
right.
had discussed
You're right.
particularly along the Wall Street corridor that any developer that wanted to increase the height of the existing buildings had to keep the new construction in keeping with the character of the existing building, and it also had to be stepped back from the roof line of the existing building. So there was a setback requirement for the upward extension.
Yeah, and there's some of the architectural review is baked into the zoning. So there's in the zoning office, we have overlay zone. So that's probably what you might be thinking of, Liz, where there's a Silver Mine Tavern overlay district. There's like a Rowan Avenue Village District, I believe, and those are kind of additional review areas where there's not necessarily set standards, but there is requirements of architectural review by like a third party. So
Got it.
the city has a consultant that will take a look at the plans and say, oh, this doesn't, they'll go down to the site and take a look at the neighborhood and say, oh, this building is totally out of character. The commission shouldn't approve it or something like that. So but that's not necessarily the historical part, but
Correct. Okay.
Yeah, and whether Silver Mine is a state or federal district, and then whether, yeah, how large the district is. I know that was something we were waiting. We're trying to do one around the railroad station, and it was, no, do this, no, don't do this, no, this, and that. I don't know if it's when it's ever going to go through, but
yeah. So for the procedure, as an overview, just to give it more structure, what will happen is if there is an objection, there's a certain amount of days that the commission will have to take action on making that determination. I'm trying to find where it says the timeline. I think it's like the commission may, yeah,
21.
I think number 3 right here, if a written acknowledged objection and is timely filed, the historical commission shall make a determination of significance of the building or structure using the criteria set forth in this chapter. The determination shall be made 21 days after the filing of the objection or at the next regularly scheduled historical commission meeting, whichever occurs earlier. So, and then if the commission does not act in that time, the building department can issue the demolition permit. So that's probably just a major, making sure that once there is an objection, it does come onto your agenda, and you guys discuss that and whether or not it's gonna be significant. And then once you guys make that, determination, we give that to the building official, listing the reasonings why it's significant. And then I believe if it's not determined to be significant, then the building official may proceed with issuing the demolition permit. We did keep in that the commission may hold a public hearing, and then also at the request of the applicant can hold a public hearing, but it's not required to happen unless either side chooses to. And then I'll make this edit about, clean this up with the recommendations. And then number 7 will be helpful. So like during the delay period says, that the owner applicant shall pursue and give due consideration to all possible alternatives to demolition, including preservation, restoration, rehabilitation. And then make any accommodations to interested parties. So if you made a public hearing and somebody really wanted you to save maybe potentially aspect of the building, the applicant should consider it or give reason why they can't. That's pretty much the same. Brian brought up, if there's an appeal to any determination that the commission puts forth, should there be any clause about an appeal and how that should be handled? So something we have to implement. All this crossed off language just got re-implemented in the content, so it didn't go away. It just got relocated. And then I think the remainder is just capitalizing definitions. All this is the same as it was previously, just some renumbering. But I think that primarily encapsulates a lot of the major edits. I think the major one is just making sure that the applicant follows the procedure and those buildings are captured, but also that it comes before you once an objection is made. I think sometimes an objection is made, and I think that's what the frustration that stemmed from making these edits is that an objection was made and then it just sat for like 80 days and nothing really happened. So this kind of forces everybody to understand what needs to happen, and making it clear to the public and us about what needs to happen. But I'm happy to take any questions and edits.
I think it's great that it's, all down on, paper in front of people. It outlines really the process that needs to happen.
What's the usual term of a time period of a building permit within which the developer can act? At what point does the permit expire if not acted upon?
They are allowed, and I'm speaking for the building department of Bill Ireland, but what I've gathered and learned with working with them, I believe they have a year to keep their permit to build, but they can reactivate it with a fee almost yearly. And I think if as long as they're putting as long as like a nail in the project, they can basically keep renewing the building permit. So it's pretty flexible from what I understand.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? This is something I think I've read it 2 or 3 times, and
I was
There's still
wondering about the fees imposed. Who sets the rates on fines? At the bottom there, it had the $250 a day, not to exceed $30,000. Like, was that what was already in there? Where does that come from?
Yeah, that was already in the previous ordinance, I believe. And I think since this ordinance really sits within the building department, I would assume that they would be the ones required to collect or enforce, but it's a good point, because I'm also not 100% sure, so I'll ask Bill.
I mean,
I
don't
think
know.
that was what other towns have as penalties for abuse of illegal demolitions, etc. Because I see they looked at a bunch of other towns, the ones that are listed, so
Mhm.
But a monetary fine was already in existence?
I don't think there was. Was
Okay.
there before?
It was just on the document that she had there.
Yeah, but this document is, we're still editing, but I don't think it was on a previous, I
Yeah,
don't
but
think it
it's
existed
it's not
previously.
revised. It's white. It's black and
Yeah,
white.
it is, it's, if it was new, it would be red, so,
Oh, okay.
but if that's an error, I'll double check. It's on the
Well,
city
the,
website, I'll see.
the section 5598, the 98 is in red, so.
Hmm. Or I guess the question is whether that person on Willow Street received any penalty or fine.
And is that a deterrent?
Yeah,
I mean,
guess,
I was surprised they were able to like forge ahead and continue. I would have thought a better deterrent would have been like, shut down the
cease and
project
desist,
for
yeah.
a time, 2 years or something. I mean,
and
I'm
be
just,
shot.
Yeah, I think that was, who was talking about that? Yeah, some places you can't build for, 2 years or something.
I mean, I just made that up, but I'm just saying.
So there are,
something
I
that
think I
really,
have heard of
really
that.
inconveniences them and makes it really something, if the money didn't do it, that would really, make it something, a deterrent.
It is within the existing ordinance. This is pulled from
Hmm.
the city's website, so it's in there somewhere, just how it's enforced. It does, yeah, so C says the chief building official is authorized to institute any and all action and proceedings, so it is in their purview to enforce. So I'm not sure what happened or how that played out with the previous.
Hmm.
So basically, for if nobody else has any other questions, the ordinance eventually will have to go to common council, well, the ordinance committee and common council for vote. I know they have a lot of ordinance on their plate as of the end of last year, but hopefully this winter, some of these edits could go forth, and go forward. Hopefully it's not an uphill battle, but I think it's really just organizational. We're not really asking for much more, just more, I think it's more clarification, but I understand you see all the red and it's like, okay, why are we changing all this? So hopefully it will go through. And I think some of the questions you guys brought up tonight, what I'll do is iron it out a little more and then come back and answer your questions, and then get the okay from you guys to go to ordinance committee at your next.
Thank you for all your work on this.
Yeah, really
Yeah.
tremendous.
A lot of good work.
Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I mean, it's a lot of work, but it's nice to see it all laid out
Hmm.
and clarified.
Yeah,
Right.
will be helpful for me too. So people ask these questions and I'm like, well, the ordinance doesn't say it, so I don't really know.
Okay. So have we covered everything? I think we have.
I don't know. I don't have an agenda.
Well,
You always have
did-
an agenda, but
Well,
we did the discussion.
there's personal and there's commission.
It says upcoming meetings. We know there's always upcoming meetings, but then we come to something called adjournment.
You know, I think I would like
Eric
to
usually
pass
gets
the
called in.
adjournment torch on to someone else.
Didn't,
Wait, one question.
Yes.
The list of the meetings, Michelle, is that in what you sent out? I saw it before and I went to go find it again.
It should be, but I can,
Okay,
I'll
Yeah.
recirculate all the material since.
okay,
it's been
that's
a-
fine. Okay,
Um,
thank you.
Dana, do we need to keep an eye on those 4 houses in downtown Norwalk? The one
Oh,
that developer just bought those 4 properties?
I have to.
Because
check
they
out-
are plaqued, two of them, I think.
Yeah, I was off the grid, so I couldn't
the-
really, yeah,
You
we
mean
need to
the
keep an eye
Johnny
on them.
the Johnny Sopsack one where the Jesse Lee plaque,
I know there was a
Yeah,
couple
those, the right on the corner there, that he bought those 4
the
properties.
red house.
North Avenue, so yeah, we need to check those out.
So Lisa,
Yeah,
did you know that once upon a time in my deep dark past, I used to do musical instrument repair work for Johnny Sopsack as well as some other stores in the area.
no, I had no idea.
My brother did his work before me, and when my brother moved to Florida, I took over.
Huh.
And the last time I saw Johnny Sopsack was in the nursing home when I was visiting a relative, and he happened to have the room next door.
Used to get the Breeze Easy method for clarinet, and then it was the Breeze Easy method for flute.
Oh no, I
I
used
heard those
used the
same
Rubank
tunes.
method.
I heard some of those same tunes that we played at the concert at Concord Magnet School the other night. I was like, I know this song.
I was a Rubank method guy.
Rube Goldberg? No,
Pretty close.
yeah. So yeah, I saw the 17th has the list of everything's on the 17th, the one I didn't get until I don't know where it went, but some of
They're
the
gonna
stuff
put, they want to put big apartment buildings in there.
it wasn't that many units. I have to check it again. Thanks for bringing that up, Mark.
Yeah, 830G or whatever they do, all the way out to the edge.
Mm,
Well, we'll have to look at it. I haven't seen
yeah.
it. That would be a crying shame.
So if you knew Johnny Sopsack, did you know Frank Deutsch's place?
No,
It's on Wall Street on the corner by Smith.
no, I
It
just
was
used to
another
know-
musical instrument store.
Yeah, I just knew him because I knew him really well in 6th grade because I played clarinet and I broke reeds all the time. But then after
Well, that's-
I switched
that's
to
what they're
flute, I didn't
for.
need to go there as much.
I guess I never set foot in that place.
Because you played flute.
I know, but why didn't I go there?
Oh, you didn't lose your book.
I guess I do remember going down to Greenwich or somewhere to buy the flute, but anyway, that's not really what Eric wants to talk about now. That's it.
Eric,
He
are
wants-
you going to adjourn?
No, I am passing the adjournment torch on to whoever would like to claim it for this.
Oh,
Okay, I'll make a
Motion to
motion. Oh,
adjourn.
go ahead, Mark. Go ahead,
Don't
Mark.
fight over it.
I'll make a
Motion.
motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
all third, fourth. Oh, all in favor.
Yeah,
Oh, it's unanimous.
tired. My eyes hurting.
Thanks everybody.
Yeah, Michelle, thank you
Night.
again,
Yeah,
really.
thank you,
Thank
Michelle.
you.
Thanks
Really,
again,
really,
Michelle.
it's great job.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Night.
Good
Good night.
Time. Bye-bye.